Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So this here is old news, but I wanted to bring it back out because there was a similar issue that happened to an elderly couple. But this time it happened to the famous actress Halle Berry. I wanted to bring it out because I wanted to show, number one, how important it is, how rampant this particular type of scam is going on, and that is the deed fraud scam. Okay, now it works slightly different in every different state, but it is still something that we all, particularly those of us who are homeowners, particularly those of us who are investors who actually own property, and also those of us who own the contract on the property, the mortgage note on the property. This is something that we really do need to take particularly care of and watch and monitor. Okay, so 5 years ago, Halle Berry, if some of you may not be aware of it, some of you may already be aware of it. A man tried to steal her home. Yes, she's had, I believe, like 3 attempts where men have broken into her home. But I'm not talking about robbers. I'm not talking about trespassers this time. I'm talking about someone actually trying to say that, well, he didn't try to say it. He actually did say that her home was his home, and he called the police on her gardener, on her maid, and everybody else that was working on her property, and said that they were in fact trespassing. See, this is what he did. First of all, he didn't even know that that was Halle Berry's home because she put the home under a trust. He just happened to see the home, wanted it. I guess he figured that, maybe he passed by it at night and didn't really see anybody there, even though it's kind of hard because the way her property is, from my understanding, it's not like you can just see it off the street. It's sort of secluded. It's behind a lot of, huge trees and what have you. Okay. But anyway, he went ahead. He filled out a deed form and he handed it out to the county. This happened in California, and it's quite common that this happens in California. And they went ahead and they recorded it, not checking anything. Okay, because their state is not the same as New York, which is what I've been trying to tell you guys. What happens in one state doesn't always happen in another state. See, here in New York, we have to register our properties every year. We got to pay for that. The properties that I have in other states, I don't have to pay a separate registration fee. I just pay the taxes and that's it. Well, on some of them anyway, not all. And on many of the homes I have, the actual occupant, the actual homeowner is the one paying the taxes. Okay, but there are some properties that I have where I am the owner, so I am the one that has to pay the taxes. All right, and then if the homeowner doesn't pay, I have to make up the difference so that I don't lose that particular property, because taxes take priority over mortgages. Okay, but see, California doesn't have anything like that, right? So that's why it's important. I didn't even realize that people weren't doing this, but it's important to have title insurance on your property, because having title insurance on your property doesn't necessarily help prevent deed fraud, but it lessens the blow. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to have to find yourself in court evicting the people, especially if they move in like this guy tried to do. Okay? And then the other thing that you should consider, particularly this is for those who do not live in New York, there is something called the Register for Notice of Recorded Document Program. This way, if someone makes any kind of change on any document, on the mortgage, the deed, or anything like that, you get notified immediately. And you can stop that. Okay? You can stop that. And that's why I wanted to bring this out to the forefront, because I think I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the Georgia couple who lost their home through a deed fraud. Now, what saved Halle Berry from a lot of the stuff is the fact that her gardener and her maid was there. That house that wasn't in her name but was in a trust for her, or that she had under a trust rather, that's like a second home that she has in California. And at the time that he was taking over it, she wasn't living there. She was living at another home. Okay. And her maid, the gardener, and everybody just happened to be there on the day that she wasn't there. Now, when the guy called the police was ready to arrest the maid and the gardener. But I guess after him speaking long enough, because you know when people talk long enough, they eventually tell on themselves. They can make some great convincing arguments and have people think that you are indeed the scammer when in fact they are. Okay, but something must have tipped them off. And they said, one of the cops said that it was something in the document. And you might say to yourself, why is it that a cop figured out something was wrong and the people at the county didn't? That's a very good question. There are a number of different things that I can think of as to why that is. Everybody does not work the same. Everybody does not have the same work ethic. Some people go through certain stresses and they forget to check certain things. Like they forget to check whether or not when the person signed it, did they date it and use the same date as the person who notarized it. You see, like little tiny things like that sometimes get overlooked. Sometimes even the address might be slightly wrong, or the plot number might not match up to the address. It's the devil is in the details. In those little details that can be overlooked accidentally. So that's why something like that occurred to her. And like I said, she's not a senior citizen. As a matter of fact, she's still in her 50s. I don't even think Halle Berry's in her 60s as of yet. Okay, so this thing, yes, this is widespread now. I've heard of cases where people who don't even live in the United States are stealing properties here in the United States via deed fraud. There was one guy who actually didn't even steal a house. He stole a business. He stole Burger King. He stole, not Dunkin' Donuts, that other donut shop, Krispy Kreme, and I forgot the other store. He took those through deed fraud. And those companies had to take him to court to keep the properties that they owned already, guys. This is serious. Please take this serious, especially if you are a homeowner. You want to definitely get that title insurance. You want to definitely register with the Notice of Recorded Document program. And if you are a mortgage note investor, you want to make some checks too. It doesn't really cost in many states and in many counties. It really doesn't even cost you a lot of money. All you got to do is go to netronline.com, right? Go to the county where the house is located, type in the address of where the house is, and make sure that the homeowner that's on the mortgage note matches what's listed there on the county. And if it matches, you're all good. If it doesn't match, make some phone calls. Sometimes actually the servicer will contact you if you're using one and let you know, hey, there's been a change. I think they may have sold the property. And then you reach out, or they'll reach out to the homeowner and say, hey, are you still the homeowner on this house? Because we're seeing somebody else's name on the property. Your name is not on it anymore. Did you sell the property? Because if you sold the property, you owe us money. That's how that works. Okay? But see, here's the thing. Somebody like Halle Berry, she probably don't have a mortgage on the property. So now if you don't have a mortgage on the property, you don't have a bank, and the bank doesn't have a servicer to make that check for you to see if that's the case. So when you no longer have a mortgage, it's up to you to do this on your own, especially if you do not live or own property in New York City, because they make us pay that $13 up front. They used to make it optional, but now they've made it a priority. They've actually included it in our taxes. So it's different. Okay. So guys, that's really all I wanted to share with you, that we got to be on our P's and Q's. We got to be up on our toes, because these scam artists are very, very savvy. They are very, very sneaky. They are conniving. They are charismatic. They are convincing. And if you're not up on it, the next thing you know, you will lose what you worked so hard for. And I would not like to see that. And I'm pretty sure you wouldn't either. All right, guys. So anyway, please feel free to share this with your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.